Okay, right, so converting a fraction to a percent or a decimal. Because the idea behind this is really, if you convert a fraction in your calculator, it's going to go to the decimal first, and then remember just move the decimal point 2 places to the right, okay, and that should get you to the percentage. So, now a lot of you might already know that if you look at, say, question 11a, 35 out of 100, okay, so if I write 35 out of 100, okay, well, that really in some ways is already telling you what the percent is, because all percentages are out of 100, so that's 35%. But if you put it in your calculator, 35 divided by 100, you'd get 0.35. Okay, then remember a 1, 2 places to the right, 35%. Okay, so that one in some ways you could probably see 16 out of 50, maybe not. Okay, so 16 over 50. Okay, if I put in that in my calculator, I'm going to get 0.32. In fact, let's just double check on that. 16 divided by 50 equals 0.32, okay, which is going to give you 32%. Okay, now then, let's look at some shortcuts on here without a calculator. Remember I showed you about, say, equivalent fractions on the last video. That ratio's 2, okay? Well, look at this. I'm just going to erase some of this now. Eraser. Okay, now then, let's look at this. Now remember, every percentage is out of 100. Okay, so this is what we're looking for. This is what we need to convert it to, okay, if we can, okay, to look at what that numerator is, and that's the percentage. So look at this. This is not bad actually, because look, from 50 to 100 I've doubled it. So equivalently, if I double the numerator, I will get 32. And that's why it's 32%. Again, if you go back to this first one, okay? Now we know what it is out of 100, okay? So that's another way of doing it without your calculator. So let's have a look at more of these. 8 out of 20. Now again, if I'll tell you what, I'm going to do it without the calculator. 8 out of 20 is what? Question mark, right? Question mark. Out of 100, because that will give me the percentage. Well, I can see, it looks like I've multiplied by 5 here. All right, look at that. From 20 to 100. So if we do the same to the top, the numerator, I'm going to get 40. So that must be 40%. And I bet you anything, if you put 8 divided by 20, whoa, turn this thing off. If you put that like that, okay, 8 out of 20, in your calculator, you will get 0.4, which will come out to be 40%. Okay? Right, so that's not too bad, all right? So converting fractions to your decimals and your percentages, not too bad. Okay? Now, how about converting back? Have a look at this. Okay, so suppose you've got percentage and you've got decimal, and you want to convert it to a fraction. You're thinking, So you can see the numbers make sense here with decimals and percents, just like 2 places to the right or left. But how about if you convert it to the fraction? That's always the hard one. So having the fraction go into decimal percentage, nice and easy in your calculator. Right, here we go. So if I look at this, I know a percentage is something out of 100. Okay? Something out of 100. Right, and that's it. I've just written the fraction. Now, unfortunately, that needs reducing. So what? Divide by 5 on the top. Divide by 5 on the bottom. That's what I get. So that's actually the reduced fraction, not 45 over 100. Okay? So that would be the answer to that one. So that wasn't do too bad. But I want you to look at this as well. Supposing I was just looking at the decimal. Okay? Right. Okay, so look at the decimal places. After the decimal point, you have tenths, then hundredths. So this one has gone as far as the hundredths. So I would write that 45 right there over 100, okay, which I've done right here. Okay, and again reduce it. So that's another way of doing it. Instead of from percentage over 100, go from the decimal, okay? And that I can see I've gone as far as the hundredths, so I write it over 100. And that becomes a little bit more useful going from decimal to fraction when you look at, say, the percentage on this second one. Okay? So if I think about writing the percentage over 100, this is not going to look good. All right? This is not going to look good. 12.5 over 100. Okay? Because we don't write fractions like that. It's a correct way of starting off. Write the number over 100. Okay? So, 12.5 over 100. Now what do we do? Okay, well, think about this. If I multiply top and bottom, the problem with this is not going to be nice to do, but if I multiply the top and the bottom by 10, at least I'll get rid of that decimal point. So 1 decimal point multiplied by 10, 2 decimal places, okay, multiplied by 100. So this will give me 125 multiplied by 10 over 1,000. Okay, and again, I'd have to eventually reduce that. Okay, so in other words, okay. So that would be the answer, but I need to reduce it. So divide by 5 or divide by 25 to get to the answer. But here's looking at the decimal. Look at this. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Again, that's what I write it over 1,000. Okay, so that there, that 125 I can see after the decimal point, that 125, has gone as far as the thousandths position, so I'd write it over 1,000. Okay, and if I did have to reduce that, so what's 125 over 1,000? I think eventually it will come out to be 1/8. But again, you know, you keep reducing it until you get smaller and smaller. So either you go from percentage to fraction or decimal to fraction, two different ways. Just write the percent number over 100, but it might be awkward, like that 12.5. Or look at the decimal positions, okay? Have you gone as far as the tenths position or the hundredth position or the thousandths position? Write it over that. Okay, and that's you converting from decimal or percent into fractions.